This is John with the latest on the NFL AFC playoff race going into Week 13. Let's begin with some of the big winners and losers from Week 12's action. The Steelers bounced back from the losers list with a win over the Bengals to now occupy the 5th seed, gaining precious division and conference win chips for possible tiebreaker use later. And the Colts have won 3 in a row to now move into the last wildcard spot, albeit just by a tiebreaker, but that shows how important holding a tiebreaker is. For the losers, the Bills' loss puts them back to 500, and that is not a good place to be in the competitive AFC. They are behind 3 teams now for the last spot, and they do not have a good tiebreaker situation. The up-and-down Texans return after not being able to take down the Jaguars for first place in the AFC South, and they now find themselves in 3rd place in the division, being beaten by the Colts by a tiebreaker. Here are the important numbers from the Commodore 64's deep search into the possibilities. First, it looks for the bare minimum of wins needed to have any chance at all, and not that they should rest on their laurels, but the Ravens, Browns, Steelers, Dolphins, Chiefs, and Jaguars could, in theory, lose out and still have a chance at a playoff spot. It looks like 7 wins is the bare minimum for the Bills, Patriots, Raiders, Chargers, Titans, and Colts, while the Bengals, Jets, Broncos, and Texans need to attain 8, again showing the power of tiebreakers. Next, the computer looks for how many wins, if reached, should assure a playoff spot no matter what else happens, and that number appears to be 12 across the board. And by the process of deduction, any team that cannot attain 12 does not currently control their own destiny, with the Bengals and Bills being new additions to this list. This power can be rejuvenated with wins and things falling back into a team's way. These numbers so far really just cover the far out scenarios. The important one for most of the teams is what is figured to give a team a realistic chance at a wildcard spot, and that number is dipping a little bit and now is between 9 and 10 wins, as in 10 wins should secure a spot and 9 has decent odds of at least getting a tie for the last spot. I'll be sharing teamrankings.com projections later, and they concur. They have 10 getting a spot and 9 falling into a tie in their numbers. Thanks to them, as always, for letting me use their data. Going through the teams, starting with the AFC East, almost just a one-team race. Dolphins comfortably in front. Bills' attempts at remaining in it keep getting intercepted. Dolphins should just need 2 more wins to secure the division. TeamRankings.com projections have them getting a couple bonus ones, with the Bills projected to finish 9 and 8 and in a tie for the last spot. Dolphins at 8 and 3 and clear favorites to win the AFC East have a 94% chance to make the playoffs. The only roadblock they might have is their final 3 games against the Cowboys, Ravens, and Bills, and they haven't exactly fared well against good teams this season. So they do need to not let up the gas with the Commanders, Titans, and the rematch versus the Jets before then. My subjective analysis is they aren't quite in my realistically in column yet, but getting close. Bills with another tough loss, the latest to the Eagles, to fall to 6 and 6. Poor conference record and not owning a tiebreaker against anyone they likely will be relevant gives them just a 20% chance to make the playoffs. Tough games remaining against the Chiefs, Cowboys, and Dolphins means I have them just barely in contention. Jets at 4 and 7 have a snowball's chance in climate change. I have them in my realistically out column. Patriots at 2 and 9 have a Bill Belichick's chance of being cheerful in a press conference. They are not going to the playoffs. In the entertaining AFC North, looks like we're down to a 3-team race, but the Ravens are making it hard for anybody else to catch up. Computer says 11 or 12 wins are likely to be needed to get the division, so their work isn't over yet. Team Rankings projects them to pull it off with the Browns and Steelers getting wildcard spots in their analysis. Ravens go into their bye at 9-3 after the win over the Chargers. 62% chance to win the division and 97% to make the playoffs. Do have a couple tough games remaining. Jaguars, 49ers, Dolphins, and the Rams and Steelers won't be pushovers either. But one more win is probably going to be good enough, with 2 more putting them in safe territory against most of the wacky rest of season scenarios. Steelers back in second place in the division after another thrilling 16-10 win over the Bengals. 7-4 record with a nice 3-1 division record. They can't lose the head-to-head tiebreaker to any of their division mates. They've got a couple upcoming games that should keep their mojo going against the Cardinals and Patriots. Playoff odds of 71%. Only thing that strikes me to watch out for is they lose the tiebreaker against the Texans and Jaguars. In good shape right now, in contention. Browns couldn't keep their winning in the face of adversity thing going, losing to the Broncos. Still at 7-4, decent chances of also 71%. They have a win over the Colts, but a loss against the Broncos for tiebreaker consideration. Not a terrible remaining schedule. Tough games against the Rams and Jaguars in their immediate future, though. They're in the middle of the fight. Bengals have now lost 3 in a row after the loss to the Steelers. They now will lose the tiebreaker to everyone else in the AFC North. Worst conference record in the AFC, as well including a loss to the Texans. The only win they have that might be relevant later is against the Bills. I have them in contention, but that is written in very light pencil strokes. Just a 10% chance to make the playoffs. Over at the AFC South, Jaguars avoided making it all very, very interesting. Colts took over second place. Texans still in it as well. 10 or 11 wins should be what could take the division. Again, looking at 9 to 10 wins for a wild card. Team Rankings has it as the Jaguars ending up 12-5, with the Texans and Colts joining the tiebreak party for the last spot at 9-8 in their projections. Jaguars, with that win over the Texans, even the series with them, and with their sweep of the Colts and a 4-1 division record, their chances of winning the division are now 86%. They do not have a brutal remaining schedule and hold some victories over a couple contenders. 95% odds to go to the playoffs. Their in contention remark is also written in very light pencil strokes, but only because it should change to realistically in very soon. They are honorary members of the AFC North for the next 3. Colts on a 3-game winning streak to get to 6-5. Have a decent schedule to continue those ways with the Titans and Bengals on tap. Solidly in the middle of the fight, 42% chance to go to the playoffs. Do have a loss to the Browns to be wary of for tiebreak considerations. Texans made things exciting but fell to the Jaguars and are now in third place in the division. Do hold wins over the Steelers and Bengals, but not a great conference record. Adds up to 39% chance to make the playoffs and in contention. Broncos up next, and then Jets, with nothing the rest of the way that is scary. Titans beat the Panthers to get to 4-7, but 4-7 is 4-7. And I have them as realistically out. Out west, Chiefs got back on the horse to keep a 2-game lead over the surging Broncos. Raiders and Chargers have fallen out of contention. Spoiler alert. 10 or 11 wins should be the number needed to take the division. Team Rankings projects big surprise, the Chiefs winning it with 12, but they now have the Broncos in the tiebreak battle as well. Chiefs knocked the Raiders out of realistic contention to improve to 8-3. 3-1 division record and nice conference record of 6-1 gives them 87% chances to win the division and 95% to make the playoffs. Not a super challenging rest of season, so their in contention remark should change for the better real soon. Travel to Lambeau Field this week before hosting the Bills. Broncos kept pace with a 29-12 win over the Browns. They do now hold head-to-head wins over the Bills and Browns for tiebreak consideration, but not a great conference record. Playoff odds of 37% puts them in about the best shape they could hope for after a dreadful start. Couple interesting matchups upcoming against the Texans and Chargers. Raiders version 2.0 got 2 wins quickly, but now have given them back, going into their bye at 5-7. Poor conference record, including losses to the Bills and Steelers, give them just 8% chances, and I have them realistically out of contention. Chargers' season of misery continued against the Ravens, and at 4-7, they are realistically out of the running. To sum up my subjective analysis, just one team in my realistically in column, now 5 in my realistically out list with the addition of the Raiders. That would leave 10 teams fighting for 6 spots. Over to Week 13 scenarios. I haven't manually triple-checked this, but it looks about right. The Patriots can be eliminated from playoff contention with a loss and basically football happening on Sunday. Looks like maybe the Ravens, who are on bye this week, if everything really went their way, would have a chance to clinch a spot in 2 weeks at the earliest. There are just 4 intra-conference games for Week 13. Let's look at what outcomes are best for the teams in the middle of the fight would be. 3 of them are simple. Chargers at Patriots. All the contenders don't need the Chargers to even think about a miracle run. Colts at Titans. Computer says the threat of the Titans getting back on the radar screen is worth it for the Colts to sink to everyone else. Bengals at Jaguars. Everyone else better off with the door firmly shutting on the Bengals' chances. The interesting one, Broncos at Texans. This is where who holds what tiebreaker over who else comes into play. The Bills, Dolphins, and Jaguars are slightly better off of a Broncos win, while the Bengals, Browns, Steelers, Chiefs, and Colts should root for the Texans for the week. That's it for now. If you have been entertained and wish to support my obsession with playoff races, my site is playoffcomputer.appspot.com. Comments, questions, or suggestions are welcomed. Enjoy your day.